Everyone here knows that I opposed the 2019 county budget, and since then there's been further developments that further reinforce my opposition to the budget, and I voted no on the budget for two reasons. One was the excessive cost of the county campus construction project, which is now $406 million in the budget, and the fact that I did not receive a guaranteed commitment from my colleagues on the board that there would not be a project labor agreement implemented for the construction of the new Justice Center across the street. Last week, a union boss named John Doherty has faced indictment charges, and it further reinforces why I'm opposed to a project labor agreement. It's not that I'm anti-union workers. The men and women on the job sites doing physically demanding labor and trades are working hard, paying their union dues. It's the fat cat union bosses that sit behind the desk and collect those union dues and play politics with it and abuse their power and use it to self-enrich themselves is where I have a major problem. And we just saw it recently with the Philadelphia union boss. And it's not only Democrats, it's Republicans too. Democrats, I know my colleagues have received thousands and thousands of dollars from unions and campaign contributions. Republicans have as well, especially here in Montgomery County. I'd like to point one out. One is former State Senator John Rafferty. Former State Senator John Rafferty lost his election in November, but over his term in the State Senate from 2002 to, now he's gone, to current day, he received over $500,000 in union contributions. As recently as this past October 27, 2018, received a $25,000 check from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 98. The boss of that union is John Doherty. $25,000 check. Over the years, $20,000 check from Local 98 IBEW. $5,000 check. Big checks. And they send these checks to influence elected officials on decision making. Everyone knows that's how it works. Okay? And I think it's ironic that it's called a brotherhood. They call each other brothers. They're supposed to look out at one another, but they're self-servants. Time and time again, you see them self-serving themselves and their cronies at the expense of hard-working men and women on job sites. They abuse their power. And elected officials take the contributions and play politics with it and cater to their campaign donors. Everyone watching this meeting knows that's how it works. Okay? And this, I even received a letter, I know my colleagues did too, from the same union, where the union boss is facing indictment charges. Local Union 98, encouraging me to implement a project labor agreement for the construction of the Justice Center. Why do you think Bob Casey, our U.S. Senator, sent me a letter? Because he receives thousands and thousands of donations from the unions. Why do you think Governor Wolf sent me a letter? Same reason. And the way it works is the union boss picks up the phone and says, you remember that $25,000 check I gave you on October 27th? Well, you owe me. And that's called pay-to-play politics. And the public knows that's politics as usual. That's how business is done. And they're tired of it. That's why I was elected. That's why I'll be re-elected this year. People are fed up with it. And it's an endless cycle of corruption and scandal every time you open a newspaper, every time you turn on a television, and a lot of it's right here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And what I've come to learn as commissioner is many times it's not about conservatism ideology and liberalism ideology. It's a business. And the Republican Party bosses are best friends with the Democrat Party bosses. And they collude to have power. And everyone knows that's how it works. I disrupt that system. And that's why I have a lot of public support. And I'm going to continue to be outspoken and shine a spotlight on it. There's an endless cycle of collusion, establishment collusion in Montgomery County. You have a long history of it here. You can look at the former Commerce Director of the county, whose husband is the Republican GOP party chairman for the state of Pennsylvania. So why would a Democrat administration hire the Republican Party of state party boss's wife as the commerce director of the county. It's establishment collusion. It's not in the spirit of bipartisanship and credentials. It's establishment collusion. That's why you see the former Republican committee chairman, Mike Verb, a former state representative, working for a Democrat Attorney General, Josh Shapiro. Created a job that never existed before in the Attorney General's office, six-figure salary, and hires the former Republican boss from Montgomery County. Not because of his credentials. There's a lot of people in this Commonwealth. It's because it's establishment collusion. And people are tired of it. And I have a big target on my back. Both party establishments want me out of office because I have a reputation of calling it out. And that's why I have public support, and I'm not going to stop. And it's scandal after scandal, whether it's the former Attorney General for the Commonwealth, Kathleen Kane, who was prosecuted in our courthouse across the street, spent time in our county correctional facility, whether it's our former Montgomery County Republican Committee Chair, Bob Kearns, who drugged and raped an employee of his, now he's a registered sex offender, whether it's perverts like former Republican Congressman Pat Meehan or State Senator Dalen Leach, a Democrat. Both sides. A lot of corruption and scandal. Never ending. Whether it's former Congressman Shaka Fatah, arrested in prison, whether it's the former district attorney in Philadelphia, Seth Williams, another one, arrested. It's never ending, and all of it's in our backyard. And to implement a project labor agreement, when we know for a fact it increased costs of construction by approximately 20%, it excludes approximately 85% of the construction industry from bidding on the construction work, when we already have a very, very difficult time procuring bids on these construction work projects. It's wrong. It's a scandal in itself. So I encourage my colleagues to think twice, because they still have not been clear and stated where they stand on implementing a project labor agreement for the newly constructed Justice Center. So I highly consider you investigate this. Yesterday, we toured businesses in Pottstown. One of them was a newly formed electrical company. You heard it firsthand from the business community that it hurts their businesses, a project labor agreement. I received numerous phone calls, letters from the public that agree with my stance. It's the fat cat union bosses behind the desk that collect the dues of hardworking men and women on job sites and play politics with it, and then become indicted that want it. And it's also the elected officials that get those $25,000 checks, the $5,000 checks, the $20,000 checks that are their puppet on a string. And that's why you get letters to support it. They don't care about the taxpayers. They play politics with the taxpayers' money, time and time again. And this is a new development that reinforces my opposition to the project labor agreement, reinforces why I oppose the county budget, and moving forward, I highly encourage my colleagues to give that sincere consideration. And that concludes my comments.
Okay.